Hello, and welcome to A Place to Call Home. I'm Portia Evans. I have some very special guests live in the studio with me today. Our program is entitled Healing Through the Holidays. And I'll let the ladies to my right, your left audience, introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Shirley Joseph. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I work with a company called AOC Solution. We provide counseling, life coaching, consulting, and we do events to help the community.
And I'm Tanya Cormier. I'm also a licensed professional counselor and a registered nurse. I also work with AY Solution located in Carencro.
All right, thank you ladies for being here. And our sponsor for this upcoming event is Mr. Eric Singleton. He is our friend and owner of Kenshin Funeral Home. Hi, Eric.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you for being here. Healing through the holidays. And that's a powerful topic, and I know it's all about grief. And this event for families, for friends, where did this idea come from?
Well, actually, it was a situation that I had actually experienced at Kenshin Funeral Home. I had attended a funeral, and there were so many people there who were not experiencing grief in a positive manner, in a manner that I thought was helpful for them. There were people there who were trying to help them who didn't know what to do. So I went out and stood in the lobby and just kind of thought about it and tried to figure out what we could do to help those people, because the community has been suffering. Our community has been suffering. We've had a lot of loss of young lives. People are having trouble just grasping that and understanding that and moving through some of those things. We're aware that holidays are difficult for people, especially people who have gone through a loss, whether it be this year or years before. It's sometimes very difficult. And so we got together at AY Solution and talked about what we could do to help people to just be a little bit more productive in the holiday season. And we were blessed enough to be able to talk with Eric at Kenshin, and he was on board and supported it 100%. So we were happy to put this together for our community.
Now, Mr. Singleton, we know that in your business, you see grieving people all the time. And I was thinking, people handle grief differently. A lot of people handle it differently, but I know that that is something, unfortunately, that you have to experience all the time in that business.
It is. I don't know if you remember years ago we used to do grief sessions in and around the community. And so when the ladies came to me with this idea, I thought it was a great time to start that process again. And as she was saying, Tanya was saying, a lot of times people don't know what is proper, if you will. And so I guess in an effort to let them know that all things are proper, if
Right.
you will, in terms of grief, we're putting this together to understand that for some, like with one lady, one time she told me that when her husband died, it was 20 years, she kept the clothes in the closet the same way he always kept it. And she was not ready to, at that time,
Let it go.
let it go. And then in her time, she did. So she moved past that denial state of grief to finally an acceptance state. So whether you do it in a day, whether you do it in 20 years, whether you do it in a week, it doesn't matter. Each person is different. It doesn't make you strange. It doesn't make you odd. It doesn't make you special because it's taking you longer than someone else. And a lot of times people trying to be helpful, they say, "I'll just get over it." Well, you don't ever get over it. You just learn how to live with it. And so we'll be talking about ways to get through those difficult moments, to know that it's okay, and to know that it's, getting over it is not it, but learning to live through it is it. And the ladies are professionals in that aspect. And so the other good thing about these young ladies is that they are educationally trained, but they have a spiritual base. They have a God center.
And that's good.
And it's always important in terms of dealing with the loss of anyone, understanding how God and His Spirit works through us, and how He helps us through difficult times and moments. And so joining the spiritual along with the academic, it should prove to be an interesting experience for everyone who's there.
Now, we've stated that there is no right or wrong way, Ms. Shirley, so
Correct.
Mhm.
we know that we want to invite anybody who's going through, or family and friends who help you through. It's like she
Absolutely.
said, there were a lot of people grieving, people trying to help,
Mhm.
but there is no right or wrong way to grieve. So
That's correct.
when a person gets there for this event, it's gonna be November the 15th, by the way, folks. That's gonna be at Kenshin Funeral Home, and it's gonna happen at 6 p.m. in the evening.
5
Five.
p.m.
5 p.m.
From 5 until 6:30.
From 5 until 6:30, and there may be somebody that may be very, very blessed by the event, but what can we expect when we get there?
Well, we're definitely hoping that this brings education, a time of remembrance, and also hopefully some comfort to people who may be stuck in grief and just not know what to do. Sometimes the event and all the things that surround it can leave you stuck or just not knowing where do I go from here.
Mhm.
So we're hoping that it even gives them tools to start moving forward and working through the process. And so we would like to provide information, education. We will have a time of remembrance for loved ones. We plan to do a balloon release at the end in a small
Really?
little,
Aw.
just a time of remembrance, and also, what was it, coping skills.
Yes.
We want to equip people with lots and lots of coping skills. We found as counselors that the more coping skills a person has, they're able to better handle things. Because let's say you have one coping skill, and it is laying in your bed, you know, that could or could not be helpful if you need to be able to get up and go to work. So, but if that's the only thing that gives that person comfort, we want to provide as much information so that they can start using all the tools that they have to be able to shift out of that, to be able to function again. And if they come home and get back in the bed, that's fine. So, that's our goal.
It's good to know that there are coping skills that you will be sharing with people. And the goal, I am imagining, is to teach people just how to deal with something a lot of times unexpected. You
Yes.
know, I was sharing with all of you that I am still grieving over the loss of my own child, my only child. And he was murdered, and it's been a few years, and I still find myself grieving. On the day he died, I went into his apartment and I took a blanket that he has. I sleep with that blanket. I still have his clothes, like the lady you talked about, you know. And I don't know. I know that, you know, I was criticized at one point because some people said, well, how do you go back to work that quick? And I was doing gospel radio at the time, and that was my release. You know, that was my grieving.
Yes.
You know, I grieve through some of those songs that I played.
Yes.
And, you know, I know it's different for a lot of people, and like we talked about, there are a lot of young lives that we have lost, and it's especially hard during the holidays. It's especially hard when his birthday rolls around, you know, and the only solace I have, the only peace I have, is knowing that one day I'll know what happened to my child, because that is an unsolved murder. And I think that's a lot part of my grief.
It prolongs the grief
Yeah.
process.
Right.
Totally understandable.
So, I want you to reach out and invite whomever that you think needs to be at this event. And it's like, you know, I was thinking, you know, it's like something has a power over you that you can't let go when you're stuck in that state.
When there's a lot of question, when you, like you have, what happened, why did it happen, when did it happen, you know, what was the person thinking, what was my son involved in, I don't think he was involved in this or that or the other thing. Because there's so much question, there is a need for answer. And when you have the questions and you have no answers, then you can get stuck in denial and acceptance states. Denial, then acceptance, trying to get to acceptance. You know, because you go through denial, you go through bargaining, with God and all these other things. But then when you get answers, then you can have understanding. When you get understanding, then you can have acceptance. In a case where there is no answer, then you have, in your case, your spirituality that gives you comfort. That the scriptures, the songs, as you were saying, gospel songs, like the one, your tears are just temporary, cries of relief, you have to cry, you
Yeah.
have to cry.
Your last
Cry no
tear.
more.
Yeah.
Yes.
The words all screwed up, which is why I don't sing.
Yes,
There's no
you do.
telling
I was going to say,
what
why
we're
don't you just sing it for us?
Yes,
what will
you
be coming out of my mouth. But anyway, you know, those things bring you temporary, if nothing else, relief and a way to deal with where you are at that moment. You know, and so some of the other things we hope to do is when somebody's experiencing grief, we, instead of saying, "I'll get over it," you know, we'll have some other things that they can say
Most
in
definitely.
place of that. You know, you shouldn't be at work. Well, you know, we have something else to say in
Right.
place of that. You
Right.
know, to be encouraging, uplifting of the person, to be understanding that that's what you need for the moment. You know, some people. I remember my grandmother when my grandfather died. You know, she was just moving 100 miles an hour, and she announced that. I'm getting ready to disclose tomorrow. You want, you better come get him. Because tomorrow I'll be gone. And told my mother, you go to your house. You know, because I have to learn how to live alone. Because this is the reality of my situation. She's a very practical woman. And so she didn't take the time to get stuck. She forced herself through. You know, and so but that's her personality. You know, so if yours is more to sit back and be retrospective and to think and to remember, then that's
Right.
cool. You know, and the other thing is, even though you think you've gotten through it, there's those moments. It might be holidays, it might be birthdays. You can be at a parade, you know, what'll hit
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you know, and then you'll have a moment where you just tear up. And that's okay, that's normal. And that's the thing that we need you to
Definitely.
understand, that is a normal reaction. And so you shouldn't think you're crazy, and you shouldn't let anybody else think that you're crazy because you have that reaction.
And you know what, too? I found myself getting mad at some of my family members because they weren't grieving.
Outwardly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that happens, you know, you hear people come from funerals and say, she didn't even cry.
Yeah.
She ain't shed a tear.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
But that's
heard that.
okay, you know.
It
It's just
is.
like some people, like when she was at the funeral home and the people falling out, and that's the way they do it,
That's
you
okay.
know. And if that's the way you do it, then it's okay.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
sit quietly in a chair, that's okay, you know. And you shouldn't let anybody make you feel like, you know, you're you didn't love the person, you know,
Right.
because that's the kind of crap they still talk. You must not have loved them.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
watch for that. Watch tomorrow. They're gonna be in the club. Well, if I want to go to the club tomorrow, you know, I'm going to the club. But you know, if that's how you cope,
Right.
that's how you cope. It's like people who have problems dealing with life and they drink, you know, as a way to cope. You know, I wouldn't suggest drinking all the time, but if
Yes,
that's,
we agree with that.
Yes. There are other
But
coping
that's
skills.
yeah. There are other ways to get through things, but those
Yes.
are people's choices.
Yes.
You know, and like I said, we wouldn't want to encourage you to get drunk on a regular basis. But you know, there are other ways to do it. You know, some people exercise, some people walk, some people meditate, some people cry, some people sing. You know, some people drive. You know, some people. You know, I like being outside. You know, so I'll sit outside by myself. You know, and I'm just chilling. You know,
Right.
just sitting there looking at the trees, remembering God's wonderment. You know, because when
Right.
you look out and you see the trees and the grass, I know it sounds crazy and corny,
No, it doesn't.
but it just does something to you.
Right.
You know, because I'm hyped up all the time, and so when I'm doing that, I come down to a place and a oneness with God, and it brings me to a whole nother level, and then I can put up with a whole bunch of stuff after that. You know?
Absolutely.
So,
And
but-
if you're just joining us, we're talking about an upcoming event. It's called Healing Through the Holidays, and you are invited to attend. It is going to be November the 15th,
Which is a Sunday.
which is a Sunday, and it's going to
5
start
p.m.
at 5 p.m. at Kinchin Funeral Home. There,
Yes.
everybody knows where Kinchin is, 1011 on North St. Antoine, right here in the city of Lafayette. And I understand that you ladies are gonna travel to the second kitchen location in Abbeville, Louisiana.
Yes, we are.
And we have many, many viewers out of the Abbeville area. We're gonna bring this program to you as well. And why through the holidays? Why is that?
To answer that one?
I
Jen?
guess that was more my heart, realizing that we're approaching the holiday season, and as you all have said, we've heard and seen and witnessed on a regular basis now, the shift in our community where we're seeing a lot more death and grief
Right.
at various ages. And so, as counselors, we're always looking for ways to help. And at a wise solution, our goal is not only to do what we do in our private practice, but also to give back to the community. And we just felt like with the holidays coming, it'd be a great opportunity to go ahead and provide some help and support. And for me, I was feeling while y'all were talking, what is our goal? We really just want to instill hope. As counselors, we do that in our individual practice. Hope takes us places. And so our goal is that we can give the grieving person hope, and we can also give the helper, the supporter, some resource on how to be effective. Because most times they really want to help, but sometimes we're not really helpful with what we're doing.
The other thing is that the ladies provide group and individual counseling for people who might need additional support. And so we want you to know that there are resources out there,
Thank you.
you know, that can help you through the difficult time. And so people who, we want anybody to come, you know, whether you're experiencing loss or not. Eventually we all experience a loss.
A loss.
And death is not the only kind of loss.
I was just
Very
going to
good,
say
yes.
that.
Divorce is a loss.
Yes,
Loss
it
of a
is.
dog is a loss. A child moving out is a loss. You know, so, and finding ways to deal with that help you through is what
Absolutely.
Right.
we intend and hope to do. So regardless of what your situation is, we want you to come out and fellowship with us through this time and learn some coping skills to get through whatever your loss might be.
Absolutely. I was thinking about our economy with almost daily I'm
Loss of
getting
a job.
text messages, pray for so-and-so, or clients telling me they're shutting down whole wings of their facility.
Yes.
Many providers of their homes are losing their jobs, their
Right.
way of living, or they're having to move out of state. So relationships, we get that a lot, breakups, not only
Definitely.
in marriage, but just serious committed relationships that fall apart. And
And you do all this at the counseling service?
Yes, we do.
At Wise Solutions?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us where that is and how people can get in touch with you.
Well, we're located in Carencro at 102 Gregg Street. We actually share an office with Dr. Suzanne Dardo, who is a chiropractor in that area. We have our phone numbers available. Our address is also there. But we can also be contacted through Eric. If someone knows him and can't reach us, you can contact Kitchen Funeral Home and he can give information as well.
Facebook?
working on it. Working on Facebook and the website. But if you want, we can give our numbers real quick if you
Sure.
want.
My number is 306-2781 for Tanya Cormier.
And I'm Shirley Joseph, 337-565-0607.
And if somebody wants to know more about this program,
They can call me at Kenshin Funeral Home, 235-1193.
taking time to remember your loved ones, taking time to remember those who have gone on to glory, and a lot of tragedy we've talked about, and sometimes it's just hard to let go
Absolutely.
and let God.
Right.
It is hard to let go.
But sometimes when you let God, you go back and take it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah,
You know, and it's like you said, Eric, for me, it's questions. And I find myself every Monday morning, my son's incident happened in Texas. Every Monday morning, I call the detective. You know, this has been 3 years now. They know me by name. They almost
No, you're gonna call on
know
Monday.
when my call is coming.
Yes.
And I'm still trying to say, do you know anything? Anything? Can you tell me something? No. Well, I'll call you next week. You know.
And you know, that's a very interesting thing that you're saying. I know there are many people who go through rituals that they need to do to try to get answers. And I think that one of the things that I do is to help people to remember what they do have control over. And sometimes we forget that all we can control is ourselves, our thoughts, our words, our actions. when we are dependent on other people to give us some kind of peace, some kind of, just some kind of answer, for lack of a better term, sometimes that could be very difficult, because at that point,
And
you've given your
frustrating.
you've given your power to that person or that entity or that event. We want to teach people to take their power back and understand that, you know what, just because I didn't find out my answer that I would like to have today, doesn't mean that I can't have a good day.
Right.
Doesn't mean that I can't go on. And sometimes you have to make choices and say, okay, what am I going to do from here? If this is not ever solved, what am I going to do? If it's solved tomorrow, how is that going to change what I feel and how I react? Because sometimes I've had clients who wanted to know a certain thing and that really was important to them. And when they found out, they figured, you know what? It wasn't all that much. It didn't make that much of a difference like I thought it would.
Right.
So we want to teach people that you have to be prepared in some way to understand that maybe this information will not be this miracle thing that will change everything for you.
Right.
But there are things that you have control over. There are things that you can decide for yourself that you will do. And part of healing through the holidays is taking people in a place where they take their control back, their power back, and understand that I can do some things that can help me.
Right.
Will you also be helping people learn how to filter? You know, people like to share information that they probably should not be sharing because they don't know it to be factual.
Yes, we do. One of the main things we do at AY Solution is teaching effective communication skills. With counseling, one of the major problems people have, whether it is a financial thing they're coming in with, a marriage issue, whatever it is, most of the time it goes right back to effective communication. Even in this situation, healing through the holidays, we want to teach people to effectively communicate, whether it's the person in grief communicating, this is what I need for this moment from you, or the person who's trying to help that person saying, what can I do for you, and doing what that person in grief asks. So yes, we are going to be teaching effective communication, and it'll be simple to the point where people can leave with some substance and know, I'm going to try this today.
Right. And we want to invite the entire community to come out, even if you're not grieving. You know, this program can help, and I
Definitely.
started with a little church, have a little church, and then go into the sessions, and there may be questions. Somebody can be helped, and somebody can be healed, and that is what we're believing for the event. Kitchen Funeral Home, November the 15th, 5 p.m.
Yes.
until 6:30, and Eric is going to be there. These counselors are going to be there, and if you need to be there, you really need to be there.
Yes.
You know, some people may say, well, what can they teach me? What can they help me with? You know, what can these 3 strangers help me with? You know, how can they help me? You know, and a lot of times, Eric, I want to say, a lot of grief for people, and I want to encourage you to get your policies in order. But a lot of grief for people, when something happens in the family, is not being able to pay you,
Talk about that
young
too.
man.
Yes.
You know.
He's going to have his own section of help there for this
That will
program.
also be available, that information.
Wonderful, because that's a lot of grief,
Yes.
that can be a lot of stress
Yes.
a
too.
lot of
Most
stress.
definitely.
And
You know?
Absolutely.
people don't realize how important it is just to take a few moments, even if it's no more than to tell people your parents' names and correct names, cities of birth, to know something about your lineage. That is important in life, but it's also important in terms of when someone dies and the information that's needed for death certificates and
Right.
for survivors to get their benefits. And we'll talk about benefits for
Yes.
survivors, Social Security, VA, where there might be resources in the community to help you, like a WISE solution, and some other things in the community that may be helpful to you. So we'll be talking about those things.
That's wonderful.
That will be his portion, yep.
That is great.
Yes.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for us. Everybody, you're invited. Healing through the holidays, and the session will take place again November 15th, 5 p.m. at Kenton Funeral Home, right in the heart of our neighborhoods. If you're grieving from the loss of a loved one, please attend this event. It's going to be great information shared, and we are believing that this event will help somebody. Thank you all
Absolutely.
for coming today.
Thank you
Thank
for
you for having
inviting
us.
us.
Thank you.
And we'll be back again next time with something else. In the meantime, I'm Portia Evans for A Place to Call Home. I love you. Bye-bye.
Awesome.